You may have time-traveled multiple times already. You just don't remember it. A recent study says that all your memories of the trip would be completely erased as soon as you're back in the present, and you can blame it on something called entropy. To explain it, we first need to talk about closed Timelike curves, or CTC. This is a closed path where a particle could travel, and it ends up right back at its starting point at the exact same time it left. In other words, it's like a cosmic time loop. Take this notebook paper, picture each line as a different timeline with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Now if you roll that sheet of paper, the lines connect. Suddenly they form a continuous line with no beginning or end. That's what CTCs are. Closed timelines that don't have a starting point. Past and present blend together in an internal time loop. Now, a more practical example, you're taking a walk around a park. A woman jogs past you and a dog starts barking. You keep walking, but then, wait a minute. You realize you're back at the exact spot where you started. The same woman jogs by and the dog barks again. But here's the thing. It's not just that you've returned to the physical starting point of your walk. In a closed time-like curve, you're retracing not only your steps, but every single second of reality itself. Alright, now, think about the big moments in your life. Being born, graduating from college, getting married. If all these events are part of one big time loop, that means time travel is possible. It sounds crazy, but there's a concept behind it called the self-consistency principle. It says that time travelers can't create time paradoxes. I mean, time travel can't just be this wild, chaotic mess like those crazy butterfly effect scenarios. Even if you go back in time, everything in your life still has to fit together in a way that makes sense and lines up with what we already know today. I'll explain. Let's say you go back in time and stop your mom from meeting your dad. But here's the problem. If they never meet, then you wouldn't exist. And if you don't exist, how could you have gotten into the time machine in the first place? That's a time paradox. That's why time travel could only work within these closed time-like curves. No matter what you do, the past, present, and future are locked in. They're always going to play out the same way, like a loop. Okay, so now you understand what CTCs are and why they're important for time travel to make sense. Now we can finally talk about entropy and why it's probably the reason we'd lose our memory after a trip to the past. Entropy is a way to talk about disorder, chaos, or randomness in a system. Imagine a super clean minimalist bedroom where everything is neatly arranged. Everything's in order. That's low entropy. But then picture a messy teenager moving in. Everyday clothes, books, and random stuff gets scattered around the room. It's a mess. That's high entropy. In nature, things usually trend toward more disorder unless you actively work to keep them organized. Like this ice cube, it's made up of water molecules all neatly lined up in perfect order, low entropy. But if you take this ice cube out of the freezer, it will melt into water. See how the puddle looks messier now? In this form, the water molecules can be arranged in so many different ways. They're all disordered and random, and that's higher entropy. If we apply this idea to time travel within a CTC, the closed time loop, things get even more interesting. According to specialists, a key feature of this circular journey is that the level of entropy has to be the same at both the beginning and the end of the trip. Here's an example. You're just living your everyday life. Nothing too exciting going on, so the entropy level is low. But then you get inside a time machine and go back to the past right before you broke up with your high school sweetheart. By traveling through time, the chance of you changing the past and totally throwing your story into chaos is pretty high. Let's say you don't break up with her, and in this second chance you decide to propose to her. See how everything could go totally sideways, right? So when you go back to the past, the entropy is at a super high level. Now you get to the exact moment when you're about to talk to your past love. At that point, entropy is at its peak. You're about to kneel down, show her the engagement ring when, well, here comes the self-consistency principle, and it throws a cold bucket of water on this whole romantic idea. Remember, in a closed time-like curve, nothing can significantly change the present reality. All the changes a time traveler makes in the past can't cause any historical paradoxes. So, sorry to say, but you're not going to end up with her anyway. You decide to hop back into the time machine and return to the present. You get back into your routine, your job, and well, your single life. After completing the time loop, your timeline is back in order. Now the level of entropy is low again. Just like it was at the beginning of your journey, it's like you did a reset on the system. And that's the bad side effect of all this. Pressing this reset button would probably erase all your memories of the trip by the time you get back to the present time. Unlike in the movies, a time traveler probably won't recall anything. What? Now answer in the comments. Even if you can't remember what you did after going back to the past, would you still take the risk? I'm guessing your answer would be, yeah, of course. That would be my answer too. After all, we could bring our phones and still make tons of cool photos on this trip, right? Well no, this is where the laws of physics crush our hopes again. The second law of thermodynamics says that in an isolated system, entropy or disorder tends to increase over time. But this doesn't apply only to humans, but also to non-living things. It's why you can't unscramble an egg, unmix coffee from milk, or take your phone into a time machine. If a time traveler stores any data on their smartphone during their journey, experts believe it will probably get wiped out as soon as the trip ends. All the videos, photos, poof, gone. That's because machines probably wouldn't work properly when we go back in time. For example, let's say you bring a classic analog watch with you. For all the reasons we've already talked about, when you come back to the present, the clock needs to be exactly where it left off. I mean, the clock hands should be in exactly the same position at the beginning and the end of your journey. But to make that happen, it's likely that the frequency and number of ticks during the trip will be different. That could cause small problems in clocks made for regular time, making them unreliable. Something similar could happen with your phone. Its system probably wouldn't work as it should. All these consequences of time travel were described in a study by a mathematician published in 2024. While his theory doesn't determine whether time travel is actually possible, it does point out the strict conditions that would have to be met. And well, it seems like having a time machine at home might not be as great as it sounds. In the end, you wouldn't remember a single thing about your amazing trip, and you'd probably just end up exactly where you are. That's it for today. So, hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends.